Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IAS Current Affair Analysis for 7th June 2021. In this video, we'll be discussing this couple of issues. This is a very debatable topic, and this article is actually written by South Chennai Parliamentary Constituency MP. So he talks about the rights of sex workers. Now, traditionally called the flesh trade, the opinion on sex workers or the general perception is that women are forced into this profession. Nowhere in our literature or discussion circles or policy circles, it is not an accepted question to consider whether women voluntarily join this profession because they want to have a livelihood out of this, out of choice rather than anything else. Here is where situations get tricky, because when there is consent, the next thing that comes into the picture is that of morality. Now, legalizing flesh trade is a matter of law, but before that it is a question of morality. Can we say that sex workers are immoral, or should we give them the kind of rights on par with other kind of labor? Should we consider even flesh trade as labor? This is the question that is being raised. The author suggests that they have the rights on par with other citizens, and therefore they should also have certain labor rights within their ambit and access. The reality here is between society and individual rights, the conflict and the friction always exists because of difference in opinions. In order to consider this flesh trade as a legal profession, it requires a consensus and tolerance of the idea that women can even consent to have incomes from such livelihoods. So the underlying premise is this: women are forced into this profession because they have no other way, and no woman would like to live that kind of a life. The author suggests that we should consider that there are a few women who consent to carry out their livelihood through this mode of living, not because there is no other choice, but they take a conscious choice and take up such professions. As a society, we can debate whether that is moral or immoral, but what is beyond morality here is that even these people have human rights, as they are also a part of this society, and they do have minimum rights which are incorporated through fundamental rights. So they have all the rights which are guaranteed by the constitution through fundamental rights. One of the right is that they have certain basic labor rights, because these labor rights are recognized as embodying the principles of fundamental rights through labor codes for specific context of labors. So there is an element of fundamental rights in labor rights also. Now, by saying that sex workers are actually out of the ambit of labor laws, what we are essentially doing is we are denying them access to fundamental rights according to the view of the author. So when we are talking about this from a human rights perspective, they cannot be deprived of right to certain things like healthcare when it is given to other citizens. Just based on the prejudice that they face, they cannot be denied any service. So this is against the fundamental rights. Like Article 15 says, we do not have the right to discriminate on the basis of race, religion, caste, sex, and place of birth. So this is a violation of that principle. The judiciary is also moving in this direction of recognizing the rights of sex workers. So this author quotes a case, Buddhadev Karmaskar versus State of West Bengal case, where Supreme Court has decided and directed the Parliament to consider this question of whether sex workers deserve rights under labor laws. So that is the gist of this article. uncooperative federalism. This is about the issues with the present structure of GST Council. So the author talks about the GST's distortionary mechanism according to his view. So let us understand what his problem is all about and what are the solutions he proposes. So in the present times, we know that the pandemic has created havoc in most of the nations. They have suspended their regular safeguards and they are focusing now on COVID-19 response. Now in this COVID-19 response, in India, GST Council is still engaged in discussion of whether or not life-saving products should be taxed, where the rest of the countries decided it is not needed. The requirement of a consensus on a 0% GST rate on products which are essential to fight this COVID-19 was not taken up in the GST Council meeting last week. The reason is some members of states argued for taxes on such products, and other states, which account for nearly 70% of India's population, they said they don't want a tax on any of the COVID products or any products that are used in fighting this COVID-19 pandemic. So this brings us to the issues associated with GST. We know that the GST Council has a representation of 31 states. The taxes under GST are accumulated by the union from the states, and again union will transfer some of the portion that they collect from the states back to the states themselves according to the 15th Finance Commission formula. Now you know that every state has two major components of revenue: own revenue and union government transfers. Now here is the major problem. There is a large imbalance in collection and distribution of this GST tax. If you take for example, there are 4 states: Maharashtra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and Gujarat. These states contribute 45%, while the remaining 27 states, they contribute the rest of the amount, that is 55%. So there is a huge imbalance. Only 30% of the overall revenue of these 4 states come from the union government. Just 30%. So you can say that on an average they are losing around 15% of the revenue in very simplistic terms. And if you take a look at the northeastern part of the country, the share is 80 to 90% of their total revenues. These small states get most of their revenue from the center. This showcases that states that contribute the most to the GST pool, like these 4 states, they are least dependent on union government transfers because they don't get enough contributions. However, when you are in a federal democracy, this is very much possible. It is not the case just here in India, but elsewhere as well. But the long-standing problem that we have right now became increasingly one-sided according to the view of the author. Generally, the transfers work to reduce the developmental differences. So regionalism, which is an aspect in our GS1 syllabus, in order to handle regionalism, the only antidote is development between and also within the states. That means as the states become more equal, the quantum of net transfer should reduce. But in India's case, it is actually the opposite. General principles of taxation say that we have to increase the collection from direct taxes, whereas ensure that there is a decrease in indirect taxes. But if you take a look at the data from the last 7 years, it clearly shows that the proportion of taxation is increasing from indirect taxes. GST collections have been increasing, whereas direct collection more or less remains stable. Also, you have to consider the cesses and surcharges. These cesses and surcharges do not go to the states as per the present scheme of things. Since 2014, the cesses revenue increased by 21% year on year, leading to a doubling in terms of share in GDP. So this is the trend with respect to cesses and surcharges, and the combined effect of the problems is that there is a overall lower share to the states, and the inter-regional disparity is continuously increasing. So what should we do in this scenario? As per the present scheme of things in the GST Council, one state has one vote. So regardless of the state's size or its GST contribution, the present scheme of things ensures that those who are contributing less will be taking more. In the longer run, this does not augur well for the spirit of democracy. This model has been established to incentivize states that have proven to be distortionary. If this is not the case, what it will lead to is the 4 states which we have talked about, they will be having a larger say in most of the decisions taken by the GST Council. So the states that are more dependent on union transfers want to maximize GST collections, while others want to be more sensitive to the needs of the citizen. So what is the solution that this author proposes? He says that we have to go towards proportional representation. Proportional representation in GST Council is the way ahead according to the author. That is, according to the contributions that these states make, they should have the voting powers, because in these situations that would have been made COVID products tax free. That is what this author suggests.